Hey everyone, Matt here. It is Wednesday. That is the main event time where we go over our main topics for the week. So if you're watching or listening, this is the meat and potatoes of the episode. If we happen to have any news to discuss as well, that's where we'll talk about it here. For the full episode, check us out on Saturdays. Thanks for watching and listening. Hope you enjoy.
Apparently, I
Welcome to
don't.
another episode of Stack Your Points. I'm Matt from the Matt Clausen YouTube channel. That was a shock intro. We're coming at you now with shock and awe, in addition to everything else that we do here on the program. I'm joined this week, as always, by RJ from Do Take Cards. RJ, how are you?
I've had a very eventful few days, but I can always count on Monday at 11 o'clock Eastern that I am going to be recording this podcast. So I always have that to look forward to.
Yeah, I was supposed to be having an eventful day, and Blue decided to take some of the events off the table. It was interesting. We are also joined with Tariq from Tariq's Rewards. Tariq, how are you today?
I'm good. It's Monday. I don't see RJ's usual backdrop, so I'm a little sad, but I'm still happy that she's here. And I just watched the Cleveland Cavaliers put an absolute beatdown on the Miami Heat. I forgot it was a playoff game, how bad it was. It's Monday, 10 p.m. where I am because I am in the central time zone, unlike my two East Coast friends, but we're still chilling.
Not an invite to drink, guys. All right, and finally, we're joined by Lani from the Call Me Lani YouTube channel. Lani, how are you today?
I'm good. Just it's Monday. Period. I'm gonna leave it right there. I don't got nothing quirky or quippy or nothing for you tonight. It's Monday.
It's a long day, wasn't it, Lonnie?
It's been a long day.
It's not a long day. It's a day. It's a Monday.
That is fair. It is indeed Monday.
So we're going to switch over to our news and roundup, and we found evidence of a survey about a new Capital One card. This was posted at Doctor of Credit. I put it in my tidbits video tonight. We're going with Saver X just because don't 100% know what else to call this, but Dr. Credit got hold of a survey from Capital One about a new credit card that would be 4 times points on dining, 4 times points on entertainment, 3 times points on groceries, 10 times points on hotels and rental cars in the Capital One travel portal, and 10 times points on, Capital One entertainment. So you can earn 10% cash back there. And I'm using points and cashback interchangeably. Assuming you have a venture card, you could then move the cash back over to points. That's one way, is what it is. So I'm calling this card Saver X. The asked about annual fee was $295. Now there were $560 in available credits with a $120 annual Starbucks credit, a $120 value of Apple TV Plus membership, $120 value of a Uber One membership, no additional earnings on Uber, but Uber One membership, $100 in the travel portal, and $100 fine dining credit, which I'm assuming would go through Capital One Dining, but there was no strict mention of it. It was just a $100 dining experience. So $295 annual fee, $560 in potential credits. Does this move the needle for anyone who might be interested in Capital One here on the panel? Lani, you're so far out on Capital One. I know you're like in Alpha Centauri in terms of your interest.
I'm over there where Tariq's standing in the corner of whatever universe we're in. Like that's how far removed.
He's the guy in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the diner on the edge of the universe. That's where the corner is. I think this is interesting because if they do this card, the saver is gone. Because you can't have both, right? You can't have the $0 with better earning categories than this card. I look, Capital One, the Delta thing is buttoned up. Capital One has to change some things. I think they haven't changed some things because they were putting as much effort as they were on the Discover merger. This to me is an interesting card just because it shows that they're at least trying to make some natural pairings, right? Because if you had the Venture X, you had this card. Yeah, it's a higher annual fee. It also means the Venture X annual fee is going to move up, but they do work together nicely. And I know people were freaking out that it's not, what, 4 times grocery. It's fine. Like, it's fine. But I do think it's an interesting concept. You would imagine there would be also a $0 card in this sort of lineup, but it couldn't be the $0 card that they have now because then this card wouldn't make any sense. It also can't be a flat 2X card because they have the Venture X. So I don't know what that card looks like unless they pull like an Attune out of their head and it's just on some weirder categories that you don't see as much.
I can see that, but like a base $680 annual fee before you do any credits, before you do anything that you could like reduce it in your head to net out to some sort of better, like a base 680, and that's before a Venture X annual fee increase. Like, where does the Venture X go from there? Because if they're doing 295 for 4X dining and 4X entertainment and 3X grocery, like what are they doing with the Venture X?
I don't think the categories on the Venture X change at all. I think it's like they add a status, they add something like that. They have choice, maybe they add choice platinum. Something like that, I think they could do with the card. I don't think they're going to be able to actually change the meat and potatoes of that card. I also can see them sort of making themselves into two companies, right? They're always going to want to go after the lower end of the pool because that's where they make a lot of their money on interest and fees, right? Like they're grabbing Discover, which also is very good at that. So I feel like if they make the higher end lineup with their sort of X ending cards, right? The Saver X, the Venture X, all of that, and then they have their for good credit sort of thing, and then maybe have the middle be like the Quicksilver and things that aren't necessarily bad credit but aren't the X line. So I think they're making themselves into those stratas, not to be confused with the City Strata Elite, but stratifying their lineup in that way.
So what does the Discover It X look like?
It is 2X everything with a rotating 5X category.
Are they going to call it Discover That?
That's got to be the title. That was good.
That's a better one. Tariq, any additional thoughts here? I got nothing.
So, out of curiosity, I pulled up the OG annual fee saver card, the one that was $95 annual fee. So for $95, you got, then let's be honest, Capital One cashback if you have a Venture X ends up being points anyway. So I'm going to, for the sake of simplicity, 4X on dining, 4X entertainment, 4X streaming, 3X grocery, 8X on Capital One entertainment, 5X on hotels and rental cars booked via Capital One travel. So for an additional $200 a year, you get the OG Saver card with an annual fee minus the 4X streaming, and you just add on an extra 2X on cash, 2X on Capital One Entertainment, and an extra 5X on hotels and rental cars in the portal, plus a bunch of credits that try to compete with the gold. This card, now I'm thinking about it, it just sucks. They're just basically rebranding the OG Saver with an annual fee for an additional $200, and they're going to give you, what is it? 1, 2, 360, $560 in credits that some people will use, some people won't. So congratulations, people who had the saver. You get the saver again and pay an extra $200. But you have to get the OG saver, the saver one saver for streaming.
I don't think this card is meant, if they put this card out, it's not meant for credit card YouTube. Yeah, they want people to make videos on it, right? Like they want the clicks, they want the
They don't want
free
me doing that.
advertising. No. Matt, I don't think in the Capital One media office that you're person number one on their call sheet of people they look up the YouTube video for. Wells Fargo, you're number like 1A. Like you're the first person they go to when something happens because they're like, we need to see how we did for Matt. We're gonna take the temperature there. Anyway, though, with
Wells
Capital,
Fargo for Matt is like it's the litmus test to see how they can beat Chase.
I think for the general public, right? The people who see the Jennifer Gardner commercials and stuff like that, who don't have a strong affinity to Capital One, if you saw this card and didn't know about the old Saber one, if you didn't know about Capital One outside of maybe like you've seen their lounge or a coffee shop or whatever, right? This card is fairly appealing to that demographic, the people who are into credit cards enough, but not us, which is different than sort of general population versus us. This one, it's almost like the I know enough to be dangerous crowd. Like, this is the I know enough to be dangerous credit card.
Okay. I would have to see what the welcome offer on this card looks like. I would have to see what I'm interested to see what the final version of this card looks like, but right now, this ain't it for me. I have the no annual fee saver. I don't see anything that was listed there that would make me go, I need this. And I don't know a way that I'm going to earn 295,000 points to like tell myself at least if I cash this out at 1 cent per point, I have the annual fee covered. No, that's a
Now,
silly way to look at it. I know.
obviously, if they put a Wells Fargo logo on this, you would want it.
Wells Fargo Autograph X. Matt's all on it.
I don't know.
The hesitation makes me believe that there is a chance.
First, they've got to introduce Beyond, Autograph Beyond, and then they've got to figure out their transfer partner situation. Like right now, the no annual fee cards, I'm good. Everything else, this card within the Wells Fargo ecosystem would only get plaudits for having a grocery category for me. Anyway, let's jump over to our topics. I think we'll come back to this card when it becomes official. Don't know when that will be, but surveys are out floating. If you've got one and you happen to have the full unabridged survey somewhere, please let us know. I would love to see what that survey looked like. I would love to see what the other options for this $295 thing are, or if they went to a higher band, because they're definitely trying to take on the American Express Gold card with this card, and I don't know that it's interesting to me that they're proposing a $295 annual fee and they're offering $560 in credits. They know that they've got to offset things with a net out well above 295, but I don't know that this card is necessarily good enough to be in consideration with the gold, and the only selling point is it's $30 cheaper than the gold. But that entertainment category, who knows? We're going to jump into topics, and we're going to start our topics with RJ.
So, my topic this week is how do you handle the frustration or the anticipation when you know what you want to do, but the only thing that can happen between now and when you do it is time passes? Maybe you want to product change a card, maybe it's applying for a card and you're over Chase's marketing term, maybe you have to close a card because you've hit Amex 5 card limit. You know what you want to do, you've run the numbers, you know exactly what you want to do, but there's time and you have to just wait. How do you handle that? How do you handle the all of the things that go with that? Lani, as the most zen person on this podcast usually, I am going to go to you first.
Appreciate that. I actually take that one as a compliment as well. I got a couple of layers to this question. The first is how you worded the question itself, like planning for X card or waiting for 524 or anything like that. Set a Google Calendar invite to myself, I guess, is normally what I do. The only one that I can't plan for is pop-up jail because I don't know when it's ever actually gonna end. And the more you try to find out, the more you end up hurting yourself. So that's probably the one that's the most frustrating. It's do I apply for this card again? And then it's still pop-up jail. It's like crap. And it's just about to tell me I have applied too much and whatever. Or they're not gonna give me the welcome offer again. And I don't know why. But anyway, if I were to take that question and flip it, planning travel itself, because I have mentioned this before, that I primarily plan my travel 10, 11, 12 months, sometimes even further than that out in advance. And normally how I cope with that is breaking down when I want to go and what is currency am I going to need, and that's obviously going to be points or miles of some kind, and which one's going to be best and which places are we going to stay, because in most cases you can't buy a flight or hotel until you get to that 10 to 12 month mark, depending on which that is anyway. And so I have my own little Excel sheet that I like to use, And it's like, this is the hotel we're staying at. This is the rental car that I'll need. Here it's the rental car company that I'll be using, et cetera, et cetera. And I just lay it all out. And then when things begin to open up, it's just boom. So I can do this on X day. And like I said, I literally put something on my Google Calendar like book this trip or book this flight, book this hotel with cruise lines, because you guys know that I did a cruise last year. I'm doing another one again this year. Done a crap ton with my mom and my parents growing up. There's a lot of dates when it comes to cruising. Like, you have to have your cruise paid for by this date. You have to like have all your check-in stuff done on this date. You have to get your stuff you want to get done on the cruise, like an excursion, or you want to go see one of the shows or something on by this date. And so because of that, growing up, and I thank my parents now more than ever because of it, because they invited me to be part of that planning when it came to the family vacations for myself and my siblings. Even though I'm the youngest, it was like, here, you're in charge of luggage. That's how I remember how it started when I was a kid. And it was like, you're in charge of the hotel confirmation. You're in charge of the rental car when I was above 25, those types of things. And now, because of that, it takes the stress and the frustration out of planning for me, because it's like, I know these deadlines, I know these active dates, and I just naturally lean into them. Now, going back to the credit card game, on the credit card side, the financial side, eh, like I said earlier, I know what I want, and I'm going to use my cards as they're intended. I'm not going to, outside of stacking and hacking, but I'm not like in the product chain, it's a long game or anything like that type of world. So for me, perfect example, my battle between Surpass and the Marriott Brilliant card, both with Amex, is, oh, I still can't get it. All right, whatever. I'm fine. I'm still fine without it. That type of thing. Man, I really need some better answers tonight. I feel like I am dropping the ball. I really do feel like I'm dropping the ball. Like I should have some more
No, I feel like that is a very
thicker
Lani
answer.
answer. That is a very Lani. Like, I put a Google Calendar reminder in and I go about my day. That is the most Lani answer I feel like we could get.
It
From
really
a,
is just that simple.
from a more Zen approach, we're gonna go to somebody who's a little more less Zen. Tariq, when you want to do a thing and all you can do is wait, how do you handle that?
I don't know, because the biggest part of handling it is being bullied by 2/3 of my co-hosts on this podcast.
And it's a rotating 2/3, so who knows which two it'll be in on any given day.
Exactly. So that's about what I deal with. It's not necessarily, I guess that's the frustration, is just, dang, like I'm being dogpiled. I feel like the Meg Griffin of this podcast, which is absolutely phenomenal. So honestly, aside from that, I just do things like apply for the built card and make that like my sub. So I just do that, and then I don't know, just spend time with my girlfriend, go live life, because looking at it, focusing on the card, sitting on my hands trying to figure it out is just going to annoy me. So I'd rather just put it out of sight, out of mind. Like, I'm waiting until sometime next month when the annual fee hits on my Sapphire Preferred to move $500, and then move probably 5,000 from my Freedom Flex just out. And then maybe I can apply for that card again after like another 6 months. So I don't know. I get thicker skin from dealing with y'all a lot of the time. So that's about the bulk of it.
I really thought your answer was going to be, I don't wait. I just apply immediately and then see where the chips fall.
Hey, I mentioned the built card as my, hey, I can't do this, so I'll just get this card and make it my recurring sub.
There you go.
I think that was RJ's point.
Yeah.
That's what I said. I'd mentioned that already.
Yeah. Matt, you're known for your patience and your level head and your ability to just tune everything out and just move forward. How do you deal with this?
Before I answer, let me just say, if Tariq is the Meg Griffin of the podcast, Meg is the lightning rod that keeps everything functioning in the Griffin household. So Tariq, you are actively like helping us function.
I don't have a reason to crash out, so I'm just stuck here.
Well, I tried. I will, if I gotta wait, I gotta wait. I honestly don't have anything like in terms of plan or anything like that. I don't have anything planned at the moment, so like, I do get to just be zen about things. There are cards I'm waiting out just to see what they look like, but they could be just as bad as the JetBlue Premier card was earlier this year. They could be absolute bangers that I want to be in a position to apply for. But if all I have to do is wait, that's great. Now, there could be unexpected expenses that come up where I'm like, dang, I should have pulled the trigger on something so that I would have this crazy spend that would knock out at least one sub, maybe two. I should have something in the chamber for this. But again, if it's unexpected spend, like you can't really plan for it because it wasn't there when you were making plans. I don't really feel stress or frustration with having to wait. It's just one of those things where I'm the I'm just in a place where I know where my chase marketing status is. I know that I'm under 5. I know that I'm in a good position to move and go grab any card that I want to go grab. But I also need to make sure that any card that I want to go grab is a card worth going after for me. It doesn't make sense for me to go after the Frontier credit card just so that I could have the Frontier credit card. Now, granted, I just paid for Frontier status, but I'm not going to go extend it by grabbing the Frontier credit card. It doesn't make sense for me to go after the Hawaiian Airlines card. While there is some really interesting value proposition there with the new loyalty program that will be taking effect, but after I hit the welcome offer on this Hawaiian card, it's more than likely going to become a Barclays horrible card that like will never see the light of day again. And yes, I could just cancel that card after a year, but unless I have immediate plans for those Alaska miles, it doesn't make sense for me to go after it. Right? I need to. I'm not going to go out and speculatively just add cards, add miles, add things that don't make a lot of sense because it's, oh, I could do this later. Yeah, but then I'm sitting on a mountain of points, right? I've got points in ecosystems I'm going to use. I've got points in ecosystems I'm going to book from. I've built up some decent point balances, like I've got 130,000 JetBlue points. I'm planning on booking at least a JetBlue flight for next week, a JetBlue flight for my partner, at least 2 JetBlue flights for my partner, and then some other things here and there. And just going forward with some of those things, I can wait it out. I can sit there if I have to change my plans, I will. But if I don't have anything other than the plan of just see what happens, I'm good with just see what happens.
You all are much more patient than I am because I will take my roadmap and take a hard detour if I can go from waiting 6 months to waiting 6 weeks. But patience is not the virtue I am known for.
I have had patience beaten into me.
Yeah. You would think I would learn, but my head is probably as hard as Tariq's. I just have maybe a few years on him for life experience. That is a thing that Tariq often says is his hard head.
I came into the game 100 miles an hour. So when I hit the wall, I crash pretty significantly. So I'm in pedestrian mode now because they took away my license. I'm riding public transit.
Do they let you pull the little cord to make the bus horn go?
No, they just put me like in a middle section of the bus and just say keep my hands to myself.
All right. Freak, your topic.
So we just talked about the Saber X mentioning, and with that, with Capital One being the new recent emergence of the Discover merger being greenlit, what is Capital One's future with their bank's business model? We've seen like just with the Saber X, which is the Dr. Pepper 10 version of the Amex Gold. And we had the Venture X, which they're going to do something with that eventually, especially if they do a Saber X. The Saber One becomes the Saber, and then they're going to have the Discover It. Then that's that. And Discover's payment network and customers. So what is the next steps for Capital One? Where are they going to try to place themselves? At least the Capital One side. Are they going to have Discover be like their for good credit, fair building credit section, and then Capital One try to bark up the deer with the big dogs like Amex and Chase? Are they still going to be like an identity crisis? What's the next steps? Like they have a few lounges. They still have Priority Pass. The Venture X has been being nerfed without upping the annual fee. Sure, the annual fees increase is going to come soon. So let's hear from that, even though we know Capital One is probably the least interested out of all of it. So, Lani, I'll start with you, who, again, couldn't care less about what Capital One does. Let's hear how you don't care about them again.
Yeah, the thing is not that necessarily that I don't care that this is happening. I actually do care that this is happening, but you're right. It's not going to change anything. I'm not going to go get a new Capital One Discover, whatever cards on the other side of all of this. I'm probably not. But the reason why I say I am interested to see what happens for two reasons. First off, do something special with this acquisition. I know we can talk about Hawaiian and Alaskan, whereas now you can use both of your points for the exact same thing. Nothing really happened. They just merged the currencies together. I know I'm paraphrasing. It's way deeper than that. But they kind of just merged the currencies together. And people are like, wow, I can take advantage of these now together. Don't take Capital One and whatever Discover currency and just merge them together, and then nothing else changes. Give us something new on what you're going to be doing in this acquisition. So that's the first thing. The reason why I say that leading into the second thing is because new stuff like this and competition wins for the consumer. When things change, we as the consumers are the ones that are winning. Go do something special, go do something unique, go do something out of the box, and make Chase have a response to it. Make Amex have a response to it where we're like, yo, we win here. They're going to do some type of new offer that actually means something instead of spend $100, get $15 back. Because, wow, Amex actually has a 15K MR point offer that's a direct competition because of this acquisition to whatever Capital One and Discover put out there. Just saying whatever. Or Chase does something like, oh, we're going to do whatever on grocery, and Chase is like, all right, cool, let's finally open up grocery, let's make grocery 5x for the rest of 2025. Like, speaking hypothetically here, but do something like that creates some competition, because then we as consumers win. And that's why I say, yes, I am interested in what happens, but if they just like, all right, we got it, and then tomorrow they're just go on with their day, tomorrow's just their Tuesday, whoop, big whoop. Even for the people that are Capital One and / Discover card holders, if they're like, yeah, we just acquired Discover and nothing changed about your cards, use it business as usual as nothing ever changes. But what's the point? Literally, what's the point at that point? So that's my response to that.
That makes sense. RJ, as the person, I think the only person that holds the Venture X, what do you think about it, and what would you want Capital One to do with the future merger?
I think they need to be upfront about what cards they want to put on Discover on that payment network. Because if you're a Venture X holder and you travel outside of the country a lot, Discover is a problem internationally, right? It's the same thing with Amex. So we need to know, are you going to put the Venture X on Discover? Are you not? Are you going to only do the cards that are for good credit on Discover? Which seems a bit silly for just buying one of the payment networks. That is going to matter, I think, almost more than what they do with the actual credit cards. So I want to know what they're doing there. As far as the cards, I think they need to, I said it earlier, but they need to establish sort of their tiers of not everything needs to be the saver for good credit, the saver for your credit sucks. Like they need to have some differentiation that isn't just this card, but without the sub and maybe a little bit of an annual fee, and you get kicked with dirt every year on your anniversary. So I want some thought put into it. They don't necessarily have to do what I would prefer, but I want to see that there is thought as I look at their actions, right? I don't want slapdash. I don't want like the Three Stooges to be the head of like marketing and product for this. I want it to be more thought out. I want to understand, okay, you're putting all the cards except for the Venture X on this. It makes sense because this is your travel card that a lot of people are going to take outside the country. You don't want to undiscover. That makes sense. I'd like all of the branding to be consistent, retire Discover from the actual cards and make it just the payment network. I think that makes more sense because the Capital One branding is so strong. But yeah, I don't know what they're going to do to the card lineup. Would I like the high end, low end, maybe a little bit in the middle to make it make more sense? Sure. But I don't want slapdash. I don't want it to look like they wanted the network and just didn't know what to do with it. I don't want the dog chase car and catch it feeling to it. That's really what I want most of all. I don't necessarily have a strong wish for what the cards look like, but I agree with Lonnie. Like, it's better for consumers if they actually put pressure on Chase and Amex and Wells Fargo and Citi. So I want it to work because I want the entire ecosystem to be better, especially in a time that's going towards an economic downturn. This is the time when things tend to be more stagnant. So if they can put a little pressure to change things, that's even better.
I like it. I like it. Matt, you are out of the four of us, arguably the most critical of Capital One, especially with recent things that they've been doing. What would you want to see that would make you a little less critical, and what do you think the reality may be because of the merger?
So with the merger, the biggest thing that I've had concerns about is just what does the next step look like? Like they have to clearly define, as RJ said, clearly defining what cards are going to go over to Discover. If there's any Discover cards coming over to Capital One, getting that out there as quickly as possible. This is our vision. This is our plan. Maybe we're just going to just retire all the Discover cards except for the IT card, and we're going to keep the network, and we're going to move the Quicksilver over, and who knows what's going to happen with the saver, the no annual fee saver. Like this reported saver X now throws a bunch of stuff, more stuff into weirdness than I previously thought. Like now with the Discover network and the ability to move your subprime borrowers there while simultaneously building out the Discover network, because like I've had it in my head that they're buying Discover for the payment network to eventually, not immediately, but eventually take on American Express, where they get to keep even more of the settlement fees after the transaction and everything. Since they can bring everything in-house, they can close the loop, and eventually the Venture X will be able to more easily take on the American Express Platinum because they are making their making their payment network getting to par with American Express. Now they're not going to be able to do everything that American Express does, but my sense has been they're going to spend the next 4 or 5 years building out this network globally, building out this network. It's as built out as it's going to be in the United States. Discovering Canada is met with, huh? Now they have stronger connections in Asia, but it's a question of what comes next for the Discover network. Are they going to expand it in Europe? Are they going to expand it throughout Asia? Are they going to expand it into other places? And if they are, like how many tens to hundreds of billions of dollars are they looking to do with that expansion? Because it's not going to be cheap, right? If they're going to spend time focusing on that, how are they going to balance that with the credit cards and potential credit card spend there? They're going to keep their partner. They could go like an Apple type route and keep their relationship with Visa and MasterCard for as long as they can until they no longer need to, which Apple has done with Qualcomm and done with other vendors, Intel, PowerPC, various other vendors, suppliers. So is Capital One going to take that route? Or is Capital One just going to keep the two companies separate, eventually merge them into the same thing, build out the network over 5-10 years from now, and make the Discover It a Capital One earning card? I just need to know, or I want to know what their plan is. And everything they presented has not sounded like anything coherent yet. So I just want something that sounds like a well put together thought.
One thing that I know we're obviously more credit card focused, but one thing that I don't think has been discussed enough, at least with this merger, I guess, is the actual banking side because Discover, obviously, Capital One has the 360 checking, 360 savings, but Discover has their checking, which has a debit card that earns 1% cash back. They have their savings. And I'm on their website right now. They even have money markets, CDs, and IRAs, retirement accounts. So I don't know how they're going to even manage or jumble that, combine that. Maybe they're going to up because they have the Discover Payment Network with the Capital One products. Do they just absorb and then every Discover bank account becomes Capital One 360? Do they increase the APY on the savings account since they're combining both and having resources and, of course, the Discover Payment Network? Like, those are some other things that I think also should probably take into consideration aside from just the credit card side of it.
Yeah, and obviously the first year to 3 of the of post merger is going to be like evaluating what parts of the business they want to keep. They get into auto loans, they get into personal. Discover has personal loans. There's co-branded relationships, and then there's everything else that Discover has. And Discover has been losing money for so long, like it's going to make sense to cut unnecessary spend or cull the fat that they need to cull to make Discover less of a money burn because they're already 35 billion deep, and they're going to continue to burn some money while figuring out like what aspects of Discover they're going to keep around going forward. Now, I'm sure they've spent the last year or so getting an idea, and they have a deeper appreciation of Discover's books than we do as the public. The first year, all I want to see out of the first year is just declarations of this is what our vision is going forward. There's going to be redundancy. There's going to be inner office politics. Post-merger politics is insane, regardless of if it's banking, insurance, technology companies, fintechs, whatever. The biggest things you'll want to see if you're a Discover partner, a Discover customer, or a Capital One customer is like, where does the customer service end up coming out at the end of this? Is it Discover customer service who wins this battle, or is it going to be Capital One's customer service that wins this battle? Because if it's Discover's, that's awesome. If it's Capital One's, that's less awesome. And boy, howdy, does the build team need to hire all those Discover castaways immediately because they need some dang customer service. It's the next year, 1 to 3 years is going to be a question of what Capital One presents as goals, and then like how they're going to attain goals. Because building out the network is going to be tens to hundred to like at least $150 billion. I would say rough estimate. Then determining like if they're going to keep the IRA accounts from Discover, or are they going to sell those off as an asset that they could start making some money back on? Are they going to combine the personal loans? Capital One doesn't do personal loans primarily. They do auto loans, sure, but they don't really do personal loans. Are they going to spin off the personal loan business and sell that to somebody else? Are they going to sell the back books of the Discover credit cards to somebody else? What is their plan? Getting to know the plan in the next year is going to be interesting to see, and then seeing who wins the inner office fights will also be interesting because everybody's on waiting with bated breath to find out what sort of customer service is going to look like at the end of this. And I got a feeling it's not going to be what everybody wants to see.
So the real question for all of this is, when is Chase buying Visa?
Visa can afford to buy Chase. Can Chase afford to buy Visa?
They're roughly the same. I just looked it up. It was more a joke because now Amex is Amex, Capital One has Discover. When will Chase have their own payment network?
I think the problem is they still have MasterCard and Visa cards. So they're working with both. Yeah, they're more Visa than MasterCards, but they still have MasterCards.
Yeah. You could take the time to build your own little closed loop system. And thankfully, the Durbin Marshall Amendment, the Durbin Marshall bill is never going to come to light. So that's a good thing. But I don't know what other companies would do because you can't see like Wells Fargo buy MasterCard. You're not going to see Citi buy MasterCard, even though Citi started MasterCard. It'll be interesting to see what happens, but like Chase starting their own payment network wouldn't be the craziest idea. But that's going to be hundreds of billions of dollars of investment that in the current economic winds, I don't know that they want to do.
They could buy the Diners Club. That is often a payment option that just makes me just chuckle.
I
Yeah,
didn't know Diners Club still existed.
There
it
are.
it
Oh,
is under the Discover brand. Discover
Diners
sold some
Club's been
licensing.
around like as long as the post office.
Yeah.
wasn't Diners
Um,
Club the original credit card?
Kinda.
one of, yeah. Diners Club, American Express charge cards, and the Bank America card, which
It's
became
Visa.
Visa, all started around the same time. But Chase could just buy Diners Club from Capital One to help them cut their losses. $35 billion hole.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure Diners Club cards are still around. It's just we aren't in that tax bracket. You thought getting a Centurion card was hard. The
Oh, yeah.
few people that still are using a Diners Club card, they're in a different tax bracket. They got a different country club that they go to on the weekends. It's still out there. It's like Club
I wouldn't-
33.
I wouldn't say it's a.
I am now looking for the Diners Club cards, which are MasterCards.
I wouldn't say it's a different a different country club. I would just say they just have more particular rules.
No, they have the country club. They probably are the people that own the country club.
That's fair.
Surprisingly, only $300 annual fee.
There you go. Lani, your topic this week.
Sure. My topic is once again going to be a slightly unique one because I'm going to talk about bonus categories, if you love them or if you hate them. But I've said my piece on the fact of there's so many overlapping bonus categories to now I just want to say, why aren't there just more flat earning cards? Like the 2x on everything, 3x on everything, flat earning card. And before anyone comes at me in the comments, I already know a lot of these already exist. But what if there were more options like this? Now, granted, if they did do this, that would change a lot, especially if Amex or Chase did it. Let's just be real. It could affect your travel portals. It could mean higher annual fees. It could affect your point values and your redemptions and all of that. But what other effects do you see if this was a standard and if this is something that you would actually prefer versus I got to get this card because it covers my grocery. I got to get that card because it covers my travel. I got to get this card because it travels this airline. I got to get that card because it covers this hotel. Let's just make it flat. How would you like to see it? Is there something that you're in for? And Matt, I'm going to start with you because this is like the other side of the spectrum for your customizable card.
Yeah, I would love more flat earning cards. Like I know a number of banks already have no annual fee 2% earning cards, but nobody really loves those just because you'd have to spend a ridiculous amount of money to equal what you can get on some of your bonus earning categories. But if you did have shortcuts where there were a flat 3x earning card, and Robinhood's got a lot of guardrails on their 3% card, we saw how Smartly just got destroyed as a 4% earner. But if there were more cards that had select guardrails, whether it's up to the first $10,000 a month in spend or up to there would have to be more, like those cards would have to come out with guardrails because have you met the credit card community? They like to destroy things. Like from jump, the first question is, how do I break this? Because we can't have nice things ever. If Chase came out with a card that was a 3% or 3x ultimate reward earning card, no other categories, just 3x on everything, but on the first, what, let's say $5,000 in spend a month, right? You get to put $60,000 through this card. Let's give it no annual fee. If you add an annual fee, you can raise the guardrail, but then you've got to make sure that your spend can beat the annual fee. So and that those points can go in, you can go in with a Sapphire Reserve and you can turn that 3x into 4.5. As long as you're doing that, you're good. But what does an annual fee look like on a flat 3x earning card with a higher guardrail than say 5,000 a month? But 60,000 in spend, unlimited 60K in spend would still net you 180,000 points a year, which That ain't too shabby. Plus, it'll probably have a welcome offer on it. This could probably be a card that could be for folks who have held X. They could find ways to make it unique. They could find ways to keep it away from hardcore churners. Hardcore churners are still going to get the card. Folks who are intent on breaking it are still going to get the card. But that $5,000 a month cap would be a way to at least turn some folks away to start. Maybe the cap's lower, maybe the cap's higher, maybe the cap's higher if you hold more money with Chase as opposed to other banks. Other banks could do this. It doesn't have to be Chase focused. Like you could have your no annual fee 2% earning card. You could have a 3% earning card with either an annual fee or like preferred rewards or something like that with guardrails that could make things more interesting. So it may affect travel portals. You may have to pay an annual fee. I think you're going to see at least like spending caps per month, maybe a yearly spending cap where like you could spend it all at once and then you're kind of hosed. You don't get to use the card for 3x going forward. 2x is super simple. Maybe they don't even have to go to 3. Maybe, Chase could just introduce a card that is a freedom, that is an ultimate reward earning card that is a flat 2.5 earner. Times 1.5, that's still going to be what, 3.75, almost 4% in the travel portal. Like pair that with a Sapphire Reserve. You don't really need any other card. You can put if it was uncapped 2.5%, you still sign up for that. So I think there's ways to do it. Chase wouldn't really need to. American Express could do something like that. Chase could do something like that. There's ways to design them to put on guardrails. There's ways to introduce them. There's ways to give yourself limits on what folks can do by putting annual fees on it. Like a $150 annual fee card that was flat 3 times earning, you got to spend $50,000 just to cash out the 150,000 points to just pay the annual fee with points, if that was something you needed to do. But you're getting all of the transaction fees for $50,000 in spend. So the bank is coming out ahead. You, the customer, would still have to do some math. And have you met Spaithco? He'll help you. Check out the Semper Point Hell section of the Stack Your Points Discord. So I think there's definitely ways to do it. I would love to see Chase do a flat 2.5% earner. I think that's kind of like the sweet spot for Chase in particular. Amex should do a no annual fee 2x earning card, whether they slap a $25,000 spend limit up for the year or they get frisky and also do a 50K spend limit on that card. At least it's a way so that somebody doesn't have to have a business or business to convince themselves to get the Blue Business Plus, even though American Express hands out the Blue Business Plus like candy. They really do. They're irresponsible with that card.
A mailer for that again today.
I got one last week.
Yeah.
Did it have the misprint for the 50,000 that was really 500,000 with the comma in the wrong place?
I haven't even looked at it yet, but now I'm going to go look at it.
I have mine, but it's like a little short walk.
Then you've got Capital One, where their 2% earning card is their 2x earning card is their $95 venture card and their $395 venture X. So like they spin that completely on their head. A whole bunch of other banks have stuff, and I'm not going to edit myself out on that by listing like the 15 banks that have 2% earning cards because nobody needs to hear that.
Oh, but you don't edit for yourself, but you leave RJ to do it. I see what type of person you are.
Hey, I see. Why, Matt? Why?
Because I can.
I don't want to hear it. Matt, keep going. I don't want to hear it.
No, and you already have Citi and Wells with 2% earning cards. There's plenty of other banks with 2% earning cards, but going above 2%, banks shouldn't be afraid to do it. They just have to be willing to put in guardrails to make sure that the folks who are intent to destroy everything that's nice in this world, don't have much of an opportunity to destroy everything that's nice in this world.
I'm going to take that long sip as he was finished with his answer and move on to RJ.
I yield back my time.
So I think there's a couple of things here. First is I think for us, a flat earning card is nice, right? It's a relaxing thing because we don't have to think about it. But I think for the general public, they're boring. They're not something that the general public goes, ooh, I don't have to think. They want their entertainment card and their grocery card and whatever. I think as a general public, those are very easy ways to hook you in, right? Like the gold card is your grocery card, your restaurant card, and then it's got some other stuff I don't care about, right? That's how some people see that card. That's how a lot of people outside of the credit card community see that card. So I think that having it be flat, even if it's 2.5, 3%, doesn't grab the attention of a lot of people the same way that it's 4x for grocery, 4x for restaurants, and then everything else that it has. So I think that's part of the problem of doing the flat cards. I agree with what Matt said is like the Smartly card was abused to hell. Like the Robinhood Gold card with the 3% was abused to hell. Like the community sees a new thing and wants to be my cat, my old cat, and with a mouse and just toy with it. They don't want to kill it so much as they just want to see how far they can go before it's dead. And that instinct, coupled with banks' conservative nature when it comes to product and loss, I think makes it hard for them to be the first one to go above 2 from one of the major banks, right? Like Chase, Amex, Citi, Wells Fargo, they don't have a 3x catch-all. None of them do. The first one to do it is going to take the brunt of it. And then you'll see if Amex does it, Chase will roll out with it. If Chase does it, Amex will roll out with it. Like they will come around. Personally, if you gave me a platinum that was 2x everything and I never had to think about another card and I could just have the platinum with all of the perks and 2x, I'm done. I will keep my Hiltons and my Deltas because they give me different perks, but
I'm out the game.
I'm done. Like
I'm
I
out
don't
the
have
game.
I'm so happy. I'm done.
That sounds like a certain YouTube comment that I see a lot.
Yeah, like I can be done. I just be done. Like I'm over the next year, I'm closing a bunch of Amex cards, and literally the 2 cards I will have are the Blue Business Plus and the Platinum. And if I could combine those into one card and never have to think about it again, it would be great. If it's 2.5%, even better. But I do think that the categories draw a lot of people in because that's how they market, that's how they differentiate. It's hard to differentiate if you're a 2x card and the Venture X is a 2x card and the Double Cash is a 2x card and all of these other cards are 2x. That's hard to differentiate unless you go into travel partners and all of that, and you don't have time to do that on a TV spot. But you can say the Platinum has 5x on airlines. And that's an easy thing to say in a commercial or to show in an ad on a website. So I think that's some to do with it. And I just think the banks don't want to give us any more than they have to. And if we'll take 1x or 1.5x or 2x, then why would they ever give us more than that unless their numbers are so down from people not signing up for cards that they need to juice those numbers?
Because there's no reason to make 10 slightly good cards when you can just make 1 or 2 really great ones.
I believe that, and you believe that, and I know Matt believes that because that's half of his YouTube content. And I even think Tariq believes it. I do not think Jamie Dimon does.
I was about to say, you leaving Tariq out of
No,
the
I was going to include him. I'm going in the order of everybody on my screen.
No, it's okay. I understand being an afterthought.
Yeah, in the sense of RJ saving the rest for last, Tariq.
Told you I'm used to it. Honestly, how many people, when the Freedom Unlimited gets the double points offer or the extra 1.5x offer, where your 1.5x category becomes 3x for a year in lieu of a 20,000 or even 25,000 point sub, how many people signed up for that? Matt, I'm pretty sure you mentioned if they brought back the double points offer on the Freedom Unlimited, you would get that card. I know Space Coast talked about it ad nauseum.
Yeah,
I tried.
Like a 3x UR flat earning card would make everyone's life go easy. Honestly, a lot of people would get the Freedom Unlimited if it was just a 2x earning card. And you could just, if you take all the other categories out and give it maybe the 5x for Chase Travel because Chase, and then just the 2x catch-all, it gives you a reason for people to get the Freedom Flex that still want the Freedom Flex. And if you just want the Freedom Unlimited, maybe like a Sapphire Reserve or Sapphire Preferred, your life is simple. So I think at least for Chase, I could see that happening if they wanted to do that. But again, Chase gets enough swipes, they get enough love and attention, whether it's negative or positive attention, that they're fine with what they get. But we've seen how many people later on, before it went away for the second time, people talking about the 3x mobile wallet on the US Bank Altitude Reserve. Everybody here on the podcast has mentioned if they were to get even a 2x mobile wallet, let alone a 3x mobile wallet on the card. So we all, at least all of us here, we crave that simplicity of just a flat earning card and then like a benefits card. And I remember when I first started the game, I do miss when I just had 2% cashback card. I was putting everything on it and redeeming the cashback whenever I felt like it, because I was getting a lot of cash back, because it was just, it didn't take much brain power. Use the card, pay it off. Now I am juggling different cards, different benefits. I enjoy the game, but I'm like, man, I got all these cards, and some of them I haven't even touched in 6 months to a year. Why? Because I don't see the value in it, because I'm playing the game. If it was like a 3x you are earning card and you pay a $150 annual fee or something of that nature, I'm sure there'd be enough people willing to sign up for that card, even if that is the Emerald card. And they would do whatever they need to do to get into that ecosphere or ecosystem to get that card. I'm sure there's going to be people to do that. So I think there is a niche for it, of people that aren't in the game, because even in the personal finance side that do talk about credit cards, some of the people that talk about, they just talk about the Fidelity Visa, where it's 2% cash back on everything and it's automatically deposited into your brokerage account. So if you get 3% on everything, some people may get it. Some people may not, because there is a fee associated with it. But I feel like there's enough of a niche in simplicity where if they do a little bit more research, they can stretch their rewards further with that simplicity card. But I think that there is a space for it. It's just if the banks are going to see the value in it versus Chase using the Freedom Flex to get a grocery category every like 1 quarter out of the year. So we could talk about this day and night, but if the banks don't see value in it, it don't mean nothing. US Bank just shut down the Altitude Reserve for a reason. They shut down smartly, nerfed smartly before they could even fully get it like out. So there's people that are going to break it, and there's a lot of breakage that could be potential, because we just saw Built on their MasterCard and Visa. You can earn 1x on rent, and you just pay the 3% annual fee. So if you have a 3% earning card, the earnings on the card are going to offset the fee, give or take. And then on top of that, you're going to get the Built points for that. People that follow what to subscribe to Call Me Lani, they're going to know about the stacking on it. So the opportunities are going to be there for people to utilize it. But then again, breakage. It's a possibility. It's something that the banks are probably aware of. And we know for sure US Bank is aware of it. That's why Curve and Yada, some of those don't work as well as they did previously. Breakage happens.
That and Evolve. Real quick, there is a card that is very much structured the same as the Chase Sapphire Reserve that has a $450 annual fee. It does 3 times points on all travel and dining purchases and 2 times points everywhere else. Doesn't have a portal associated with it. $450 annual fee, 3x on travel and dining, 2x on everything else.
If that's the luxury card, I'm gonna smack you.
It's not. It's the Zion's Bank and all the various other banks associated under Zion's Bank Corp Reserve card. $250 annual travel credit as well. Chase could do that with Sapphire Reserve, and we would all willingly pay a higher annual fee for that.
Wow. Like, okay.
I know I would pay a higher annual fee for a Sapphire Reserve with 2x floor.
Wait a minute. That sounds, Navy Federal has something like that for people that have access to Navy Federal. They get the 2 points on everything, and I think it's 3 points on travel, just not the dining. And that's it. And you get Amazon Prime. So
Is that the Voyager card? No.
It's the flagship card. Again, you have
Yeah.
to have access to Navy Federal, but you get a free year of Prime, which is a revolving 3-year Prime. I don't know, something like that. And then you get 3x on travel, 2x everywhere else, and the global entry credit for a $49 annual fee.
Yeah. No, there's definitely cards out there that can support a higher flat earning rate for everything else, but yeah, I'd love it.
That's all I got. Moving on.
All right.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you, Lani. We'll move to my topic. Now, the way this is initially phrased is silly because we all have alternate ecosystems. But have you ever considered your ecosystems as being complementary to one another? And would there be a ecosystem that would be complementary to your main ecosystem, to your main setup? And have you considered investing into that ecosystem? So when it comes to American Express, I think Wells Fargo or Capital One would be a really good complementary system to American Express. When it comes to Chase, I don't know, maybe Capital One, maybe Wells Fargo, maybe Citi. But have you ever considered a complementary system to your main setup? If yes, what? And if not, why not? And I'll go to Tariq to start this one off.
Jump scare warning. This is my complimentary setup.
Wait a second. That's the same card.
One has no annual fee. The other I pay $95 for.
One has customer service, the other doesn't.
Also that.
One has communication. The other is figuring out what communication is. Again, they're rediscovering communication. But based on my setup, I've talked about Hyatt so much that I may cry when they get rid of their award chart. Both these banks have Hyatt. Both of these banks have United. Both of these banks have Southwest, or cards have Southwest, and IHG and Marriott. So this is my complimentary setup. Plus the other you are earning cards. So for that reason, that is my complimentary setup. I just use this one for maybe the first week or two of the month, and then I use this for the rest of the month for like dining purchases. Yeah. I think this is a pretty solid setup. And then I have the Ink Unlimited and the Freedom Flex that I use just to add more UR points. But for the most part, UR points and built points are my major systems because they transfer to the partners that I want to transfer to. I pick my partners, the partners are picked, and I have access to both with them. Things built for Southwest, even though Southwest is Southwesting. They've taken a page out of the Mavericks ownership. Damn, Texas. Loving and I hate them sometimes.
Place. Very odd place.
Very. It is there. I just love it. There's the good, the bad, and the ugly of Texas. When it's good, it's really good. When it's bad, all I say is the devil I know is better than the devil I don't know.
RJ, have you considered a complementary system to your main setup, or are you just good with where you are?
Yeah, I do have a complimentary system. I have MR points, I have Hilton points, and I have Delta points. That's my complimentary setup.
Man, those are the same thing.
No, I have 3 setups within Amex. Like I have other cards, but the ones that are being kept, I have the Platinum and the Blue Business Plus. That's my MR setup. I have the Surpass and the Hilton Business. That's my Hilton setup. And I have the Delta Reserve and the Business Reserve. That's my Delta setup. Those are all really 3 different setups with 3 sets of very different cards within Amex. Like just because Amex is the payment network on the Delta cards and the Hilton cards, they're not. Those cards are functionally very different than anything Amex offers. Truth be told, the only card that I'm looking to add that's not an Amex card is the IHG card. I am much more interested in adding co-brands than adding direct points earning cards for UR points or whatever because I have proprietary partners. I'm Hilton and Delta. Like I could have 2 million Chase points and other than just cashing them out, I don't care. I just don't. I'm not a portal person. I don't want to go through the portal. So that doesn't interest me. If I had them, I would use them, right? I'm not gonna just waste them, but I'd probably just cash them out.
Would you cash them out to buy points though?
No, I'd cash them out to deal with the last week of my life, but I would probably just cash them out. So it's because of my unique setup in what partnerships matter to me. Like I'd get the IHG card and then I'm kind of done, right? If I went to Marriott, because Amex has access to Marriott, I'd probably just get a Marriott card and have that. Or if I did go to Hyatt, like I'd probably just get a Hyatt card and keep two of the cards I have, the Sapphire Preferred and the Freedom Unlimited, and just go. There's not a way for me to do a complementary system because of the partners I have. If I had Hyatt like Tariq does, yeah, then Built would make sense or something like that would make sense. If Choice really stuck around as my second, then something like Citi or Capital One or Wells Fargo would make sense. If I lost my mind and they lost their mind and US Bank said, come on in, the Altitude Reserve for a product change would make some sense. But my situation, the system with the most sense is Amex, and I have three systems inside of Amex. So I'm happy.
That's fair. Nope, can't argue with happiness. Lani, I get that this is going to be pretty quick answer, but complementary systems, main setup, how are you approaching this? How do you approach it?
I'm just going to ask you to rewind 4.5 minutes and listen to RJ because I'm exactly where she is at with a few partner and brand changes. Where no, I don't have a complementary ecosystem itself, but I have these complementary sub ecosystems inside of these larger ecosystems. Now, we don't need to get into my synergy and how I've picked my partners and everything works, funnels and shapes towards my partners themselves. But
Right.
if worst case scenario, I can just transfer them out. Just thinking of Amex because Amex is outside of my student card, which did absolutely nothing for me. I earned nothing, by the way, folks. So it was just a card for the sake of getting a card, mistake or not, whatever. But it didn't earn MR points back way back when I got the thing. It wasn't a cashback card. It was just a student card, and I thought it looked cool. But other than that, now it doesn't look cool, and it's just taking up a space in sock drawer. But the point that I'm saying about that is I really didn't get into Amex until my son was born. When for y'all that have kids, you instantly start going to the grocery store 3 times a day. It was just your grocery budget just automatically started shooting up. And so that's why I'm like, yo, why am I going to get 1x, 1.5 points, whatever, on grocery when I can be getting 4? And I'm like, if I need to, I can always just transfer these Amex points out. We'll see what ends up happening because obviously Amex didn't transfer to my airlines. And at the time when I got it, I was using my United miles to book my hotels. And then I found FHR. And that is the first sub ecosystem where my MR points are literally probably 90% of them go to FHR. And I know someone's going to be like, but you're only getting 1 cent per point or whatever, or you're not getting that great of a value. And I'm just like, I'll read it when I get back from vacation. I honestly don't care. Leave it in the comments, yo. Oh, save it for your mama. I don't really care. My point is, I was able to find this sub ecosystem. And now, yes, now that I've gotten more accustomed to MR points, as we know, I have a platinum. Actually, today is Platinum Day. $6.95 showed up in my statement or in my app this afternoon. So, what am I going to do next? Maybe we'll save that for a future episode. But my point is, there's not really a complementary ecosystem. It's the how you end up using the points. And the way I call, and you heard me say this, it's called my exit strategy. Your points should have a purpose and an exit strategy. That's all you really need. You don't got to listen to me, but make one for yourself, whatever your exit strategy just so happens to be. And with my MR points, most of my exit strategy for them is, yeah, FHR. Use these things for way better hotels, get the perks, get the benefits, get the upgrades, get the room with the room in it, get the free breakfast every single day, get the extra $100, maybe get some parking waived. It's worth it. And I won't say it complements like the Chase side of my ecosystem. It doesn't complement my United ecosystem. I would actually say Chase and United probably complement each other. There's a lot of overlap between what you can do in United's travel portal and directly in Chase's travel portal. There's a lot of overlap there. But yeah, other than that, it's about how I play in. Going back to the one of RJ's original questions of this episode. I know this is going to get cut up unless you're watching the full cut main episode, but it's about understanding what it is that you want and how you plan to get it. And for me, if I'm planning out over a year out, I can say, I'm going to look at FHR. I'm going to do this. I need this many MR points. But then how am I going to get there? I'm probably not going to use Amex to fly there. I'm going to use my Chase or my United. Heaven forbid, I actually buy the flight with cash and use my Amex Platinum card for the one thing that I can actually get more than 1 point per dollar on. So, yeah.
Paying for something in cash? But this
I know,
is stack
right?
your points, sir.
Clutch my pearls.
Stack
Hey,
your points, not stack your cash.
Hey, we all started at zero, Tariq. Somebody out there doesn't have enough points to pay for a hotel or flight with all their points. So we got to be inclusive here.
Yep. No, that all definitely makes sense. I think I was just trying to think of it as like okay, so I theoretically would have American Express as my primary system, and American Express can do a couple of good things, right? But then if I wanted to amplify my earnings with some other cards, like Wells Fargo can fit, and you can still move your points to the transfer partner of your choice from through Wells Fargo, but it was a very particular niche case. So that kind of got blown up. And then when I mentioned, oh, Wells is like the perfect complementary ecosystem to American Express, there was comments of, oh, what about Capital One? And then I did that, but Capital One didn't have the elevated earnings. So it was just like, yeah, that makes a certain amount of sense, but like also not really. Just trying to see if there was other options out there that I may have been overlooking, but there may still be, but not with my co-hosts necessarily.
We're set in our ways. What can we tell you?
You can't tell me nothing.
Pretty much.
Miss that certain person when that song came out. He is not the same.
All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Stack Your Points. As always, you'll see us on Wednesdays and Fridays on YouTube. Check us out on Saturdays for the full episode. We do lives on Thursdays now at 8:30 p.m. on Thursday. If you want to drop us a comment, please drop us a comment, like, subscribe. If you want to drop us a question, I ask that you do that on the Friday show, just so that RJ and I can stay sane. If you want to join the Stack Your Points Discord, link is always in the description. You can also ask questions in the Stack Your Points Discord. You can email questions to stackyourpoints@gmail.com. Lani, if folks want to find you on the vast expenses of the internet, where's the best place to do that?
I'm over in my little corner of the internet called Call Me Lani. It's a YouTube channel, y'all. I don't know if you knew that, but it is all one word. Lani is spelled Lani. And if I'm not there, you can find me on the Stack Your Points Discord. And if I'm not there, I am traveling or on vacation or something, and I will return your message after the beep. I did not beep.
There is no beep. That's the joke. There is no beep. You call him Lani, Lani does not answer.
Anyway, I'm walking in the spider webs. Tariq, if we want to find you the vast expenses of the internet, where's the best place for that?
You're going to have to get the Infinity Gauntlet and snap me back into existence to find me. But aside from that, you can find me in the Stack Your Points Discord and YouTube at Rick's Rewards. I said that for a reason, Lani. I don't want to hear it.
If I gotta like Hulk, build like an Iron Man Hulk costume thing, that would be weird. If I got Tony Stark money, I'd be fine.
Where you're gonna find Tariq in the corner, because this video, man, we're waiting. We're waiting. I'm waiting. I'm holding them back. I'm holding them back for you, dude. I'm holding them back.
I said that for a reason. I'm just gonna say that.
All right. I'm with you. I'm on your side here. Before I let the zombie horde come rip this video out of you.
Hey, as long as it's not chicken jockey, I should be okay.
It's nothing but a collection of city dividend cards just knocking on the door.
Okay, that's terrifying. All right. Hold it back, Lani, please.
Chase is going to
at that
give you
point.
the Freedom Rise, and that's the only card they're ever going to give you again if you don't put out a video soon.
Damn.
Oh, RJ's putting hexes out now.
Fun fact, when I hit the wallet thing in my Chase app and I go to add more credit cards, they show me the Freedom Rise and the Slate Edge again. So Chase doesn't think very highly of me at the moment.
That makes two of us.
Yeah. I won't tell you the other cards that are in there as well. RJ, best place to find you here on the vast expanse of the internet.
You can find me in the Stack Your Points Discord and asking Matt, was it the Disney card?
No.
I think I know what card it is. And you can say it. It's not, it can't hurt any more than what Lonnie's already done to me.
Oh, no, it's just the World of Hyatt card. Bad cards all around. All right. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Thank you for your continued support. We look forward to you guys joining us on the Stack Your Points Discord, joining us on Stack Your Points Live, Stack Your Live. We look forward to seeing you next week. Bye for now.